All right. Hi. Merry Christmas. Okay, so it's a small little story time. And I've actually wanted to share this story many, many times, but then I thought these people don't think I'm crazy. But that was before I had enough confidence to do it. Now I don't care if people think I'm crazy, because I think they're crazy too. So we're even. So it was February of 1998, and I can never forget it. February the 14th, 1998. And I was 14 years old. And I had this guy that I really liked. And my parents was aware of him, but they didn't know where he stayed. And they knew that we, were kids. And so I had met him at the skating ring. When I was a kid, we used to go skating every Saturday. So I met him at the skating ring, and we had exchanged phone numbers, because back then you wrote down phone numbers. It wasn't all this. It wasn't texting and all of that. And so we called ourselves dating, which my parents didn't know that much, but he was my boyfriend. That was the bottom line. So on February the 14th, he called me and said, "I want you to come to my house on Valentine's Day." And I said, "Well, I can't." And he said, "We'll sneak out." And I had never thought about sneaking out. I had seen my sister do it, but I had never thought about sneaking out. Didn't know how to go about doing any of those things. I hadn't really been exposed to anything that was bad at the time. So I'm like, how am I supposed to sneak out? Like, what am I going to say? What am I going to do? Like, that wasn't my thing. But my little sister, she's not my blood sister, but she's someone that my parents took in when she was around 9 years old. And at the time, she was probably 12 and I was probably 14. Or she may have been 11 and I may have been 14. It was something like that. She knew all the tricks. She was so far ahead of me that she told me how to do it. So we both snuck out together. So we went, caught the bus to a place called Pleasant Grove in Dallas, which was always known as kind of a not so great area. Not every part of it, but the area that we were going to was not so great. So we went and we got there, and the parents of the house were there in the home. And it was a whole bunch of kids. I mean, it must have been like 10 of us in there. 10, could have been a little bit more. And when I got there, only thing that I was concerned about was getting that ring. So I wanted to get that ring. And so once I got the ring, I was satisfied. Put the little ring on my finger, and I'm like, oh, you know how it is. You're young and dumb and don't know at that time. So I got the ring, and I'm thinking, I don't know, what the heck. I was lost in La La Land. Of course, I thought I was in love. So, but at that same time, they were drinking. These were kids, mind you. These were children they were drinking, they were smoking. And I also had never been around people smoking weed or anyone that was drinking. That I had never been around it. I think probably I had seen people drink, and maybe I suspected that they were drinking, but I was not ever exposed to it. So the dad was there, and he was allowing all of this, and I'm thinking, like, he's a cool dad. Like, little did I know that at that age, of course, that parent was not very wise at all. Actually, he was a pretty demonic dad to have those kids in there doing what they were doing and approving it and participating. So we're smoking. I'm sitting next to my boyfriend. My sister's on this side, and we're like in this. They had their chairs, not chairs, but their sofa was kind of around. It wasn't a sectional, but they had like a sofa this way and then a sofa that way, and then like a little chair. And everybody's just packed around there, and they're passing the blunt around, just passing it around to me, maybe 4 or 5 times. And I kept denying it. Like, I just didn't want to do it. I had no desire to drink. I had no desire to do any type of anything. I was 14 and I was a church girl. So I wasn't thinking along that level. But my little sister, she was like, well, I'm gonna try it. And she's like 11. So I'm thinking, well, she's gonna try it. Well, I'm gonna try it too. So it comes back around, she grabs it, she takes her little tokes, and then she passes it to me. And I'm like, oh my God, what was to do? So then I take my one pull. And then I thought, well, nothing is happening. That's cool. All right. pass it on back around, and I let it to continue to pass me. I didn't do it anymore. So for a moment, I had went in deep thought. And then I thought, well, let me go draw my eyebrows on. For whatever reason, when I was younger, I thought it was cute to put this little black thing on your eyebrow like this. Let me just show you. I have my pencil right here. I would do this little retarded stuff. And this is probably an 80s thing or an early 90s thing. I mean, you would look like a clown. Oh, this don't really look right. Well, it was something like that. You know, it was just like a line, and it was black. And all of the women were doing this silly stuff. Isn't that ugly? We don't know any better. You know, sometimes you just don't know any better. So anyhow, I said, well, let me go draw my eyebrows on. Because I was sneaking and trying to put my little makeup on and my little lip gloss and all that kind of stuff, like behind my parents' back. I had a black eyeliner, and I was sneaking and using it every chance I got. And so I go in the bathroom. I don't remember if I had a purse. I had to have a purse. I don't know if I had a makeup bag. I don't really remember where, if I was pulling anything from my bag. But I remember looking in the mirror, and I thought, this is not what I want to do. Like, this is not who I am. I don't want to live like this. I began to really understand that this lifestyle was a problem. And I had such a deep understanding in that moment. And then as I'm picking my pencil up and I begin to do my eyebrow, I got about halfway, about right there, I heard something say, shh. And I looked, I thought, I'm tripping. All right, I'm back. So I looked like, what is that noise? And as soon as I looked to the left, because I remember doing like this and like this, and I looked to the left, there was a red curtain. It was a window, which I didn't know that it was a window, I guess, but it was covered by a red curtain, and that curtain was like that, and I thought, what's going on? I said, oh my, in my mind, I'm thinking, I'm tripping. Like, this is crazy. I cannot believe this is even happening. And what really, really set it off is that, I seen the window fly up, and this curtain was just going and it was just blowing like it was waving at me, like, you know, back and forth. And I'm looking at the window being up and this curtain that looks like it was waving at me, but it was just kind of had a ripple, and it was a strong wind, not to the point to where it was going to knock me down, but I knew that it was a force. And all of a sudden, boom, I started speaking in tongues. Something hit me, and I went up in tongues. Whatever I was saying. And I couldn't, I was in my mind, but I could not stop my tongues from coming. And the more I was trying to shut it down, the stronger it got. And this feeling that was over me, I could not shake it. And I could see everything clear. I could see everybody's life clearly. Everybody, I could see very clearly what was going to happen, when it was going to happen, why it was going to happen. So my sister comes in the bathroom and she says, are you okay? And I can't stop speaking in tongues. I'm shaking my head like I'm okay, but I'm whatever. And she's like, come on, girl, let me get you some water. And she's telling them, y'all, something is wrong with Erica. So they're running around to the bathroom to look, and I come out the bathroom. But when I come out the bathroom, I come out moving with a force. I knew it. It was like, shoo, shoo. And I was still speaking in tongues. And then I began to rebuke. I rebuked the Father first. And I don't even remember what I said to this man. But it was a strong rebuke. I have no idea what I said to him. I can't remember. And then God took me around the living room to each person. I said, and you, XYZ, XYZ, XYZ. And you, XYZ, XYZ, XYZ. And you. And I was knowing this and knowing this and doing this and doing this. And people were crying. And then other people were saying she's crazy. And my sister was freaking out. She was freaking out like, we're going to get in trouble. She just kept saying, we are in trouble. We're going to get in trouble. So the daddy, when he realized that like I was never gonna calm down, he called me a B. He was like, we gotta take this B home. He called me a B, a grown man. And I hear him, but I can't stop my tongue from coming. And I can't stop that I know so much in the moment. It was just happening. So they get me, force me in the car, and I'm in tongue. Whatever. And I'm thanking God. Mind you, I don't think I had ever really spoken tongues. I spoke in tongues when I was like 5. And I went to a Baptist church, so they thought I was crazy then. But before then, wasn't using tongues. I didn't even know that I had tongues. So I'm getting in the car, and my sister she nervous because she know that once we get home, my dad is about to trip out, and possibly my mom, because my mom was very mild and calm, but she possibly could definitely trip out because this is a big deal. We snuck out, and now something has happened, and she don't know what's going on. Neither one of us knew. But I knew that I was having some kind of encounter and that this was God, because everything that I knew and my body was going to this place of, I don't know, man. I don't know. So they get me in the car. I'm in the car. I'm still in tongues. Now, mind you, Pleasant Grove is about 45 minutes away from where I lived at in Dallas. So they drive me home. And the entire time I'm in tongue. The dad pulls up in front of my house. The man is so disrespectful that all he did was put us out the car. Like, get out. And he drove off. And so my sister, I'm standing in front of my driveway and I'm just in tongue, just whatever. And my dad runs outside and he looks at me. Now, this is a Baptist man, okay? He says, what in the hell is wrong with you? Now, he wasn't a cusser. He didn't cuss. But he said, what in the hell is wrong with you? He said, oh, hell, they done got my baby on some drugs. They done gave her some crack. I'll never forget that because I was so tickled after I came out of that whole thing that he thought that I had been smoking crack or whatever. So my mom comes out, and my mom is very sensitive in the spirit. She's very sensitive, and she knew. She had a keen understanding of spiritual things. And my dad was spiritual in a sense, but he was a Baptist kind of spiritual. Even though he had the gifting, he didn't really use his. But my mom, she was in tune. She knew what was going on. And she said, Satan, the Lord rebukes you. That's the first thing she said. And then she realized, wait a minute, this ain't the devil. This might be God. And I looked at my dad, and I'll never forget this because at 14, knowing the type of information that I was in touch with at that time, I did not know how to process. So here we are. We're all standing outside in the driveway of my home. And I'm in tongues, and it's probably 2 o'clock in the morning. I think it's right 2 o'clock in the morning. And I'm just in tongues, and my dad is like calling the paramedics. Well, my mom went in to call the paramedics, but then he's trying to get me in the house. And of course, I'm praising God. Lord, I thank you. Lord, I praise you. And I couldn't stop. And I had been praising him. I had been bowing and thanking him and speaking in tongues and prophesying and seeing this and seeing that. And something happened where I snapped from one mindset or one tongue or one understanding to a whole nother place. And I became sad and burdened. And I just began to cry. I began to cry, and I couldn't control it. I'm just crying, because I'm seeing. And then God tells me, tell him that he is about to die. And tell him X, Y, X, Y, Z. And I said, I didn't know that, I didn't know how to process what I was hearing. I said, Daddy, I started crying out, you're about to die, you're about to die. You're about to die, you're about to die, you're about to die. And I didn't know what to do because that's the only thing I could say. You're about to die. Because mind you, I'm hurt. I was very attached to my father. I was attached, to my father. So saying that, every time I said it, it just pierced me. It pierced me even more. And I'm just bowing down and I'm like thinking, God, no. And I'm telling him, you're about to die. And he's saying to me, I don't know what kind of drugs they gave you, but this is insane. This is crazy. He thought I was high. But I wasn't high on weed. I was high in the spirit. But of course, he didn't know that. So moving forward, the paramedics finally got there. And I'm telling my dad, and I'm telling him exactly what he's going to die of, everything that's going to happen, and the time frame, everything. And it freaked me out. So when the paramedics got there, I never forget this one guy. The other people were nice. But this one particular guy, by that time he had got me in the house, he goes and he grabs the, I guess, oxygen or whatever they give you, and he throws it over my nose. And he's telling me, breathe in, breathe in, breathe in. You need some oxygen, breathe in. But I couldn't breathe in because I was still in tongues. The whole time, I never stopped speaking in tongues. And he was saying something, and then I looked at him, and he had these, and I'm not saying people with blue eyes are devils. Don't get me wrong on this, okay? But this particular guy had blue eyes, and God told me that he was a devil. Not that all people with blue eyes are devils. I don't want people to misinterpret what I'm saying. He was wicked. And I told him, I won't forget this. You beat your wife. You're not good to your children. You misuse people. You do this. You're prejudiced. You're racist and all of these things. And God is going to judge you. And then he pulled that mask off of me and he jumped back. He moved completely out the way. And the other guy came in and they said, well, what do you want us to do? You want us to take her to the hospital? And at that particular time, I believe that the spirit had moved in the house, that my parents knew that this ain't no episode of somebody high off drugs. This is God visiting and we need to pay attention. And they did. So they let the paramedics leave and I rocked all night in tongues. I don't know what I was saying. And I don't want to speak my tongue right now because I'll get crunk up in here. So I'm rocking back and forth and I'm in tongues and I'm having visions and I'm seeing things and I'm trying to process it. And I remember God coming over me at 6 a.m. in the morning. This gives me chills. 6 a.m. in the morning, like he just covered me like a blanket. And I just fell out. No, it just fell out where I was. And I remember being like this. And when I got up the next day, I thought, did that really, later on in that day, I thought, did that really just happen? And it was so quiet around the house. Like, my dad was looking at me crazy. My mom was looking at me crazy. I'm like, and I'm feeling strange because now I know things that I probably wouldn't have known. Otherwise, it just was a weird experience, but it was also a blessing because it prepared me for something that eventually happened. So let's talk about the prophecies. Everybody that was in that room, God gave me prophecy for them. Everybody. I ended up releasing those prophecies to them all. And of course, some of them listened, some of them were crying, and some of them were not. As I got older, I disconnected from those people. From that day forward, I never really talked to them after that. Of course, they probably thought I was a freak, weirdo. They were not Christian people. But everything that God gave me came to pass like clockwork. And let me tell you something that's strange. And God is so intentional. Every time it came to pass, some kind of way, I was there to know that it was coming to pass. And I had no connection with these people after that. One of the guys lost his mind from drugs. Somebody put something, gave him a bad, some type of a bad pill, and I think it could have been ecstasy or something. He completely lost his mind. The other guy, literally, I had a friend that started dating one of the guys, and I hadn't talked to her in years. And she called me one night and she said, hey, won't you and your boyfriend come over here? And I was dating my son's father at the time. And we were young, probably 21 possibly. We were young. And so we went over her house. When we got there, the guy from my 14-year-old past was there. And I said, oh my God, like, you're here? And she said, yeah, like, that's my boyfriend. I was like, what? I know him. And it was strange. But that very same night, my son's father and the guy go out just to get some drinks. Now, my son's father didn't drink and he didn't smoke. So they were going actually to get drinks like soda and stuff like that, snacks. And all of a sudden, he said that the guy pulled himself up out of the window and said that he was Hercules or Superman or something, jumped on the side of the car. So my son's father was trying to figure out how to keep him from injuring himself because he had got on top of the car and he was going so fast. So he said if he hit the brakes, that he was going to fall off the car if he just suddenly stopped. So he didn't know what to do, so he just kind of came up off the gas. And then the guy jumped off of the car. Do you know, my son's father freaked out. He was so scared. He ran back to the house. They were right down the street. He had already called paramedics, but he came back to the house. He came and got us, and he said, I don't know, this guy jumped out of my car window. And I got there, that guy's brains was hanging out of the, I never forget, his head was cut open, his brains was hanging out the top of his head, and I remember saying, oh my God, I seen this when this is what I seen when I was 14. And I thought, well, why am I here? How did this happen? And so I was so afraid for him. All I knew to do was to pray. And I don't even know if I was praying for mercy or whatever, but I know that after that, when he went into the hospital, I went every day to his room and I prayed for him because I felt that the time frame from when we were 14 and that time I was meant to be there, and God had spoke to me at that time frame for this time frame. And I pray for him every day, and his family did not like us because his family thought we did something to him, but we didn't. I was there faithfully. I prayed for him. I declared that he would walk, all of these things. And eventually he came up out of it. This boy was considered dead, by the way. Considered dead, considered a vegetable. They said he'll never walk, he'll never talk again. All of that was over and done with. Within a month, he was healed. And of course, he had to get his mobility back and his strength back. But everything that the doctor said was a lie. He became healthy and whole. Those experiences, because I don't want to draw this out any longer, but many of the things that I prophesied that night came to pass within a span of about 5 years. And I was always there some kind of way. I had no connection to these people. Some kind of way I would be in the store and then I would run into such and such and then such and such would say such, and then I'll know that this is happening to such and such or whatever. It was strange. It was strange. It was just strange. I never have ever forgot that story because I feel that was my first encounter with God, to know the Spirit of God. And I believe that He came to me to let me know that you're not called to this. This is not what you're supposed to be doing. Because in the beginning, it seemed more of a like I was gently being spanked as I was speaking in tongues, because I was sorry in my heart. I'm like, forgive me. This was not my own emotion or anything like that. I literally felt these things and they were extremely real. And anybody that knows this story that was there can vouch for it. I could never understand why the events happened the way that they did. But I do know that God used that in some kind of way throughout those years. I was always there to pray and to do these things, and then it would be fixed or be okay or whatever the case may be. I don't know. But my father, as I said, it was February the 14th of 1998. So February, March, April. My father died in April. Didn't even know he had cancer. So February the 14th, I tell him this, and then March, April, he's out of here. Imagine that. And that is the first experience that I had with knowing that what I seen, what I felt, what I knew was real. Because it had happened. The first thing had happened. And not to mention, as my father was dying, he was sharing to me all these type of heavenly stories. So there's no possible way that I could ever turn my back on God, deny Him. There's no possible way. There's no possible way. There's no way. There's no way. I don't have room for it. I hope that this story was fun to listen to. It's been a while that I wanted to share it, but I didn't really know how to put it together. And I just felt over the last 2 weeks that I really want to share it. And I hope that you've enjoyed listening, and I hope you take something from it. God bless.